Hi, I'm really excited to be speaking to you. And I have an amazing background. The reason my background is amazing is because when God gave the Bible to Moses, the Bible, as you know, is the greatest bestseller in all of human history. It is revered by the majority of the world. It brought the concept of God and of justice and of kindness to the entire world. And together with it, there were 5 layers of interpretation. The first layer is called pshat, the meaning of it. So, for example, when it says in the Bible, an eye for an eye, it doesn't mean an eye, God forbid. What it means is the value of an eye. And the way you tell the value of the eye is you have to see what would a person pay for buying a slave minus an eye. So you can see the value of an eye. And the Jewish legal system is very intricate. It's an entire legal system. In fact, in general, our entire legal system comes from the Jewish legal system, which comes from the Bible, which comes from the interpretation of the Bible. And this is just the basic of the basic level of Judaism. Then there's what's called remez, things that it hints to. Then there's drush, there are deep lessons. Then there's soy, there's secret. It speaks about entire spiritual worlds above us, worlds that make our entire universe look like a dot. Very interesting cosmic stuff. A lot of it has to do with the fact that, like in quantum theory, as opposed to Newtonian physics, the way we see the world, which is A and B, and there's a distance and all this math, it's actually more about emotions. If you hold positive emotions, you get positive reactions. And then you have the infinite dimension. And the infinite dimension is very important. The infinite dimension is what we would call Chassidus. Chassidus is the revelation of, and this is a very important concept. Nobody has gotten this concept before. And the concept is, it's a very deep concept, so you have to take some time to think about it. Because infinity is infinite, let's use other language. Because the unlimited is unlimited, therefore he is unlimited by being unlimited. Again, because the infinite is infinite, therefore the limitations of being infinite don't apply to him. So, for example, if you think of a great professor, say Einstein. Now, could Einstein teach kindergarten children math? Probably not. It's too low for him. But if Einstein was infinite, then nothing is too high and nothing is too low. So you could do the highest equations and the lowest equations. And today we have a great example, which is from your computer. It can do 1 + 1 = 2, and it could do the most sophisticated equations. And if you're infinite, you could do both and both at the same time. So in infinity, there are no limitations in true infinity. Sometimes we think of infinity as numbers, but numbers going on infinitely is a limited infinite, because that's 1, and 1 and 1 is 2, and 1 and 1 and 1 is 3. But in infinite, true infinity, there is nothing but unlimited ability. And that is exactly who God is. At least that's the ability of God. God himself, of course, is love. But the ability of God is infinite. And the reason this is very important is because all of life is a simple story. And if you understand the story, you will understand the sequence of your life. You'll understand exactly how your life will go. In fact, exactly how your life has gone. And in fact, exactly how it's always going to go. You'll understand the story of humanity as a whole in the past, in the present, and the future. Exactly what's always going to happen. And it's a beautiful story. One of the greatest minds of our time was Einstein. And Einstein said, we don't know the secret of the old boss. It's one of the ways they used to call God in the olden days. But when we do, I am sure it will be both simple and beautiful. And it really is. It's exceptionally simple. It's exceptionally beautiful. And the way it goes is quite simple. Everything that God does, He does in a three-part system. The first is the destiny. So, for example, let's say I'm your parent. And let's say I decide that I think it will be good for you to study, say, Chassidus. So, first of all, I have to get you interested in Chassidus. If you're not interested, you're not going to study it. The second thing I have to do is I obviously have to break it down so you can study it. And so if I get you interested, and I gave you the information in a way that you could study it, I've achieved my destiny for you. I've achieved my goal. Everything that exists, there are multiple goals. Obviously, God wants us to exist as independent beings. To do that, He had to create a time-space dimension, which is so solid, which actually appears so solid. You know, once you get into quantum physics, you realize it's hardly solid at all, but it appears so solid. In fact, every time you look at it, that's when it appears solid. It's not solid when you don't look at it. But anyway, it appears so solid, it appears so mathematically precise, and it's pretty awesome how the math works, even though on a more deeper level the math doesn't work. But it's like in a virtual reality. The reality is so good. If you were born into virtual reality and you didn't know that you're in a computer, you wouldn't know that this reality that you're in, you would assume it's the whole reality. And so, in order for there to be free choice, you have to imagine that your reality is an independent functioning reality. Like I like to say, you can't say that a child is a good child if they don't steal the cookie when the mother is watching. Of course they're not going to steal the cookie. When the mother is not watching and they don't steal the cookie, that's when the child is good. That's a moral choice. And so, first and foremost, God wanted us to be independent. And it's an amazing structure. And there are universes above us, spiritual universe, very complex structure. How do you actually create the physical, something out of nothing? I mean, physicists think about this for generations. It's very complicated. It's a miracle, actually. And to make a long story short, the bottom line is that once you have a human being, then you want the human being to seek the truth. Because for something to be meaningful to you, it has to be, of course, meaningful to you. Something may be true. For example, some people, the great violinist, I remember Isaac Stern saying, without music, what's life? So that's his life. To me, it's not like that. I appreciate music, but it's not my life. I could live without music. Other people may be into sports or into dance. Other people are not. So for something to be meaningful to you, it has to be something that comes from within you. And within you, not only do you have a body, a physical body, which we actually call the animal soul, which just wants life and pleasure and not pain, you also have part of God, like a soul from God. And that soul seeks truth and it wants to live in truth with God, with people, with love, with compassion. It can't handle bad things. And that's why people are innately moral. We innately believe in compassion. In fact, we are innately compassionate. It's only that as people become jealous of good hearts and they bully people and the other person wants to survive, they want to not be bullied, so the mind understands this subconsciously, so it pretends to be a bully also, or maybe it becomes a bully. But even the bully has a good heart. There's a story of this guy who became religious in Israel, and he was a thief. And he came to, what turned him around was he decided to scope out a jewelry store. And he's talking to the owner. He makes up a story like he wants to buy something for his wife. Meanwhile, he's looking around. Where's the safe? Where's that? And his jewelry owner must have had a really good heart. He said to him, look, I can see you're a guy that's got hard luck. But you're such a sweet guy. You want to buy something for your wife. Here, take 10,000. That was in the olden days. 10,000 then was like, I don't know, 100, maybe 150, 200,000 now. Take $10,000. He says, I can't take $10,000 from you. He's thinking, if I take the money, then I can't steal the money. He's like a friend. You know what? I'll let him have his money, and I'll come back, and I'll steal the money. He said, no, you have to. Before the guy knows it, he's got $10,000 in his hand, and he went out and he cried. Nobody had ever trusted him with anything. Here's a guy that trusts him with $10,000. So for the heck of it, he bought and sold things. He tripled his money, gave him back. Anyway, eventually he became religious. So the point of the story is that we all have within us something moral. It's just that often we have bitterness, we have resentment. And the thing that basically makes us, we all have multiple drives, but all those drives, imagine a soup. You have a little bit of onion, you have a little bit of pepper, you have a little bit of salt. What if you put in honey? So then you have a honey flavor. Now let's say you wanted to taste the honey, you could put in more honey than the other things. So it depends what percolates, what's the strongest desire. Often our strongest desire is a defense mechanism. So it's not that we're essentially not good. We are good. But we're so busy trying to prevent ourselves from being shamed, like it's called perfectionism. It's a fear of criticism, that we actually, our mind is being preoccupied by one of the desires. Imagine you have 5 kids in a car. And this is an automated car. It goes by GPS. But each kid, they're not mature. So each kid says, go to McDonald's. Another kid says, no, go to Wendy's. Another says, no, go to Worlds of Fun. Another kid says, no, go to Disneyland. So the car is going to be going in all these erratic, schizophrenic different ways. So the point of the matter is that the brain is the exact same thing. Because the brain is like a computer. It can do whatever you want. But everybody knows that we get on the computer, we go here, we go there, we go do this, do that, because there are many things that we want. So why do I do this right now? Because this is the thing that I want most right now. Now you could say, well, really, I didn't want to do it. No, you did want to do it. That's why you did it. If you didn't want to do it, you wouldn't have. Now you can say, I have a conflict. One part of me wants to, and the other part doesn't want to. But the fact is, at this moment, the part that wanted to do this won the war. I answer questions on Quora, and I get a lot of times from kids, why can't I concentrate? Answer is, you don't want to concentrate. If you really were interested, there are many kids that are ADD. They have no problem concentrating on video games. They can concentrate for hours and hours on end. So it's a question of what they want. So want is the soul. Many wants are like many souls. One brain, many wants. Which one wins? The one that shouts, go to Disneyland the loudest. And the GPS here is go to Disneyland the loudest. That's why, ironically, the secret of wealth, successful people, it has nothing to do with having a good head. Very often, people with good heads, as King Solomon said, he's one of the wisest men that ever lived, Loila chacham lechem. Geniuses don't have a lot of bread. I bet you 99% of Nobel Prize winners, apart from the Nobel Prize, were not very wealthy people at all. Why? Because it's the ability to have a drive, to say, this is what I want, I'm going to do it no matter what it takes to get it. And that drive, I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. Obviously, what's right is we'll discuss that later. But the point is that the way we succeed, the way we get things, is by being focused. Now, obviously, you want to be focused on what's worth being focused. Sometimes people are driven. Yesterday I went to the Chiefs. They had a big rally for, they won the Super Bowl. So it made me aware that people are celebrating stupidity. All this time, all this effort, all these millions of dollars. If you're focused on something that matters, right? Nobody is going to remember in 5 years that the Chiefs won the Super Bowl and nobody's going to care. Focus on something helping one poor person, you're going to feel good about it, and the poor person's going to feel good about it. So by focusing on what matters, you have a much greater success, and what you succeed in matters. But to sum this all up, what's important to realize is that all of life is a process. Okay, so let's say I'm seeking truth, because once we're comfortable, and it took the world thousands of years to get to the place where there's security, so you're not worried about danger, physical, emotional, and then it took the world all this time. So we're in a very unique time in history where you actually have freedom. Very special time. And then you're seeking truth. You want to know what the truth is. And so the truth is very simple. God is your parent. What do parents want? They sent out, Newsweek had a poll they sent out to, I guess, all the parents of the United States. The primary thing that a parent wants, and of course I'm a parent, the primary thing that I want for my children is that they should be good people. The second thing we want is that they should be happy. But the first thing we want is that they should be good. And so what does God want? He wants you to choose to be good. Now your brain is a genius. If that is your primary choice, to be good, you will be good. That has to be your sole choice in life. Now the key thing is, because God is a parent, and the other thing that parents really want is they want to help you be good. They want to take all of their experience, all of their knowledge, a little bit what I'm doing right now, taking what I know, what I've learned the hard way, they want to share it with you. They want you to succeed. And so therefore God is always communicating with us. And God communicates in hints, something you see, something you hear. In everything that exists, there are two dimensions. It's like physics. There's the Newtonian dimension. There's what you see, but then there's the quantum dimension. There's something deeper. There's a message here. And the key in life is listen to God's hints.